Buenos dias. Bonjour. Please join me for this fantastical story, a journey into the interdimensional magnificence of the cosmos. In an age before clocks remembered time, and before stars learned their names, there drifted between dimensions a peculiar being known only as Professor Vermis Grey. He was a towering silver gray worm, nearly 8 feet tall when upright. As you can see, he's quite quite lengthy, with velvet skin that shimmered like moonlit mercury. He wore polished black boots despite having no feet, a midnight top hat stitched from the fabric of collapsed realities, and a single obsidian monocle over one luminous golden eye. The monocle was not decoration. It was a device capable of perceiving the hidden architecture of existence. And what Professor Vermis sought above all things was bienach, not merely the sephira upon the tree of life, but the living intelligence behind it. For throughout the infinite corridors of creation, whispers spread of a celestial chamber suspended beyond time itself. The house of understanding, the great womb of cosmic structure where raw divine chaos became ordered reality. Some called it the palace of Saturn, others called it the Black Mother. Vermis called it home. The professor traveled aboard an impossible vehicle known as the Umbilic Starliner, a locomotive that swam through dimensions like a serpent through water. Its engine burned on paradoxes, dreams, and forgotten memories. Entire galaxies reflected in its brass windows. Each stop upon his journey existed in another layer of existence. In one universe, mountains were alive and debated philosophy in thunderous avalanches. In another, civilizations were composed entirely of sentient music. In another still, humanity had evolved into beings of geometric light who communicated through equations drifting in the air. Professor Vermis visited them all, tipping his hat politely while recording observations into his endless black ledger. Yet every journey pulled him closer toward the ninth veil, the domain of Biana. One evening, or what resembled evening in the spiral continuum, the Starliner passed through the rings of Saturn, though these were no ordinary rings. They were colossal archives, every sorrow ever endured, every civilization ever born, every mother who had ever sung to a child, every structure that transformed chaos into meaning, all suspended as crystalline memories, orbiting a dark and majestic throne. Vermis stood upon the observation deck, monocle gleaming. Ah, he murmured in his refined, echoing voice, the architecture of grief. The conductor of the train, a faceless being made of living parchment, approached him carefully. You cannot enter Bina unchanged, it warned. No one does. Vermis smiled faintly. My good archivist, he replied, adjusting his monocle, change is simply the tax one pays for understanding. At the center of Saturn's shadow floated a colossal cathedral, woven from black stars, its gates open like unfolding wings, Inside sat the presence known as the Mother of Form. She possessed no fixed shape. At times she appeared as a queen forged of galaxies. At times an ancient crone spinning universes from thread. At times an infinite void filled with unborn suns. Around her spiraled the living glyphs of the tree of life. And there, blazing like a dark jewel above an abyss, hovered Bina itself. Kether, Chokma, Bina, the great sequence of emanation, the descent from infinite divine light into intelligible structure. The mother regarded the worm silently. You have crossed 17 dimensions, she finally spoke, her voice carrying the gravity of collapsing stars. Why? Professor Vermis removed his top hat respectfully. To understand why existence insists upon becoming. The mother's countless eyes narrowed with ancient amusement. And what have you concluded? The worm paused, then answered softly. That chaos wishes to be loved into form. For the first time in 10 trillion years, the cosmic mother smiled. Bina opened before him, not as a place, but as a revelation. Vermis suddenly perceived reality as an endless act of sacred deduction. Every atom was a thought, every world a sentience, every soul a theorem attempting to solve itself. Even suffering had geometry, even destiny had rhythm. He saw Saturn not as punishment, but as structure, limitation, discipline, the sacred boundary that allows stars, minds, and civilizations to exist without dissolving back into chaos. He saw that understanding was not cold intellect, it was the womb through which wisdom becomes creation. When Professor Vermis finally departed the palace of Bina, he was forever altered. His silver body now shimmered with constellations beneath the skin. His monocle contained miniature galaxies, and his top hat no longer cast a shadow, for inside it swirled a tiny cosmos all its own. Across dimensions he traveled still, a courteous interdimensional wanderer, a philosopher of the cosmic rails, a strange upright worm carrying the wisdom of Saturn through dreaming universes. And hidden beneath places, between worlds, mystics still claim that if one listens carefully during moments of profound understanding, one may hear the distant whistle of the Umbilic Starliner echoing through the void, followed by the gentle voice of Professor Vermis Grey. Understanding, my dear traveler, is merely light, learning how to wear form. If you enjoyed this story, please hit the subscribe button and leave this video a worms up, as it indicates to the algorithm that you too are a child of understanding and wisdom.